Hey, Fan Fam. On this episode, we welcome Jay Hero, an award winning illustrator, graphic designer, and writer, whose project Star Wielder is up now on Kickstarter. It's a 50-page debut comic featuring a Black girl with fire powers. And she also teaches you punch racists right in the face. Hey, welcome back, Fan Fam, to another fantastic episode of For All Nerds. And as usual, we're bringing you the best when it comes into interviews. And today is not unlike any other, right? We always have some amazing creators. This one is an award-winning illustrator, if I do say so myself, graphic designer, writer. I know that you have a passion for social change and you exhibit that in your creativity with your work. And you're the founder of Hero Nation. It's a creative studio that champions Black and diverse voices through fiction. You are a 2024 awardee of the ARC Fund Grant, and your works have been featured by Netflix, DC Comics, Image, Oni Press, and more. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jay Hero.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, all those accolades just listed out like that.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on the show. I always got to applaud everyone for listening to us. We've been saying if you have a comic or a project or anything you're working on, reach out to us and tell us. We want to talk to you. And you did just that. You reached out to us. So thank you. We want to give you kudos for that.
Yeah.
And now here you are. So there are plenty of people who've never seen you before, have no idea what you've done, why you're even here on this show. Can you please give people just an overview of what you're working on and what you do?
Yeah. So as you said, my name is Jay Hero. I am just an avid believer in leaning into part of my purpose and inspiring positive change in the world. And I've always been that way since I was a kid. And that's evolved differently from whether or not I want to do things like directly protesting or using my or organizing and starting a nonprofit, which I did, back in my 20s, and or doing storytelling that uh, helps to provide empowerment or provide awareness on issues that are trying to be erased. So I am all about using my gifts, my creativity to help empower and uplift people, especially Black folk, especially Black queer folk, and especially in that kind of space, those spaces, in a way that I hope resonates, that provides and inspires a sense of retrospection and even
Mm,
self-reflection on um, just again of empowerment of understanding who we are as a people, and things of that sort. And so that is sort of being reflected avidly in the work that I'm currently working on, which
mm.
was a graphic novel turned into now a comic book series called Star Wielder,
All
which
right.
is a story about turning fear into power or emotional pain into strength. And so
Mm,
we talk a lot about, because we live in an age full of very much, social unrest, things like that, age of fear is what I say. All the fear mongering, all the hatred. You also wonder what it does to people on a mental health perspective. A lot of us who are experiencing things like chronic depression, anxiety, or all those kinds of things. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that to a degree, and I
yes.
think creating stories that recognize and hold space for those emotions and figuring out ways that we could get through them, not to, and I know there's this approach, and I think that it's valid if that works for you. I think for me,
Mm,
like, for example, when it comes to things like fear, we tend to have an approach that fear needs to be just completely destroyed or annihilated out of our lives. It has no place. But in my research, in the things that I've looked into, in my experience, fear does have a place. It's just about developing a healthy relationship with it. It's supposed to warn you, to tell you if things aren't right, are wrong. Something needs to change in you. And so in
mm,
this story in Star Wielder, again, a story about turning fear into power, it 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 follows that journey through the eyes of a young Black girl named Kiara Kelly, who
mhm,
is from Detroit, who is pyrophobic and one day develops the ability to wield flames. And so we learn that in her journey, that part of it is about learning to face her fear, to face her shadow, to face her fear of her light, of her strength, which a lot of people I think can resonate with. But also, as she's dealing with all of this change, this traumatic evolution, if you will, she's enduring a lot of grief. in a
Mm,
time of loss, a lot of time of death. Many of us are experiencing a lot of grief right now and really are questioning if and how can we hold all of this? And do we have the space to hold all of this grief and pain? And on top of that, how can we turn this into a source of strength and power? And that's the journey that Kiara has to go through because she loses her grandmother, who was a pivotal figure in the Detroit community. And that's something that I've been resonating with as well because I've been trying to create a story that also resonates with my history with regards to honoring the Black woman in my life. I
hmm.
never really had an avid grandmother growing up. They have all passed away, and so in this story too, I'm also trying to create a grandmother that I wish I had. In
I
the story
see.
through
Mm.
our
Hmm.
journey and this woman that has meant so much to her. So really, as we take this story, the theme of the story, fear into power, we see that explored through Kiara's journey, through her grandmother's journey. Her name is Roxy, through Detroit's journey as a setting, Detroit's people, because we see the story begins in issue one, and um, it starts in the 1967 Detroit Rebellion, and then we highlight the Birdwood Wall, which some people don't know about. So honestly, I'm in this zone of storytelling, of really in this play box of, again, once again, seeing what I can do to bring forth positive change in the world with my abilities here. So
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the intro. This was like a nice thesis statement that you provided to like give us an understanding. Let me just touch back on something you said just about your history. You mentioned you also do this because you want to this story. One of the main points of the story is having this grandmother that's around and really doing a lot for this character, and that's something that you wish you have. What is your background? Like, do you come from a very? Could you also sound a little academic to me? I'm just like, do you have an academic background on this? A little bit of you read a lot of self-help books. Like you sound like you've done a lot in this space.
He's
So
an educated
you're
Negro.
very
yeah,
educated. But no, it just sounds like not to say that you know everything, right? But it sounds like that you've really contemplated and reviewed this and really done some research, and maybe that could be, you're in psychology. I don't know, but can you tell us
yeah.
more about that?
So I do not have a degree in psychology or anything, although those topics are very interesting. But I'm a very avid researcher. I try to read a lot when it comes to understanding these things. And
Okay.
when it came to approaching storytelling, again, it's great to have very cool thematic things like cool powers and flashy effects and cool fight scenes, but you want something more. At least for me, I want something. I wanted to dig deeper, and so I felt like there was a calling upon my life because I went through a lot of traumatic experiences, growing up. And I said, you know what? There is probably someone out there who needs to hear this, who is
Mm,
going through this depression like me, who is having a hard time getting through this fear, this shame, this grief, whatever you're feeling like me. What can I do to help people? And I want to liken this to an experience I had back in 2017 where I organized a my own Comic Con that was a free that was also called Hero Nation. I repurposed the name, but it was I had free toys, free school supplies, free comic books, free video game tournaments, free food. It was at a community center, a very community centered event. And then it was a successful. The vendor said it felt like home. It felt small, but not too big. It felt very
hmm.
nice. And I took that momentum when Black Panther came out 2018, organized 150 kids to see the movie at an event, had a black African drum and dance performers come out and
Mm.
perform. We
Hmm.
had free Black literature, Black artists. I had commissioned pieces specifically for this event. So this is where my heart is.
I
That's
see.
always been where it is when it comes to trying to inspire this change with my creativity, with my gifts in within the space of nerdom. And so,
And your gifts being illustration, like where did that come from? Was that always throughout your
yeah,
life?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Illustration has always been a thing. I mean, myself as a writer, it's definitely been, I mean, I've always been on and off throughout my life, but more recently, it's been more especially specifically in this medium, comic book medium, is very new. It's very different. And so I'm learning a lot about myself in this adventure. And so as
Okay.
someone who tries to be very self-reflective, tries to be very mindful and intentional, um, I can't help but be changed by this process. So it digressing a bit. So it makes me think like when people who create these wonderful, beautiful characters who are, morally sound and whatnot, turn out to be terrible. So for
Mm,
me, it's like, as an artist, how can you not be transformed by your process? And I'm allowing that I'm being open to that, allowing it to happen because I think that's what should happen because that's how you become a better person. Because if you're creating characters, like I've never been a black girl. I've never been someone who had certain physical disabilities, things like that. But I'm creating these things in my story. I think it presents me an opportunity to further empathize and understand these perspectives in a way that maybe I didn't understand before, because since I wasn't given, I didn't allow myself the space to explore that in that kind of way. And so it gives me, and again, an opportunity to practice empathy, practice compassion, and all these different things. And I'm very excited about the process.
Nice. Well, I know we were when we were reading about it and just you discussing this, and you said that you talked about how one of her big things is she has to overcome her own fear of her own power. So, what led you to choose fire as her power and her fear?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question, by the way. So, for one, I think fire has this, we see a lot of in across culture, across different mediums, fire has different connotations of it's supposed to represent anger or things like that. And that's not something I wanted to subvert, especially as a black girl.
Mm,
I wanted to place this character to subvert this expectation of this elemental ability, which, I lean into that idea that originality is important, but it's more important that originality comes from the storytelling, comes from you, but not necessarily from like you have to have a completely unique power system per se, right?
right.
So for me, it's like let me just lean into fire. It's here.
It's
Everyone knows it.
strong, it's
Yeah,
elemental. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
I also see you mentioned, it has this negative connotations, but in a lot of culture, it also has a positive connotation. It has a
Absolutely.
connotation
Yeah.
of cleansing, right?
Yeah,
Bringing, clearing the way of the old to make way for the new, right? Rebirth, things
exactly.
like that.
And I wanted to get into that. So again,
Yeah.
about evolution, about transformation, about healing, as you said too. And
Mm,
since we'll learn that, her abilities are, it's called Star Wielder for a reason. So, it's all connected. And so we are I am just trying to really connect this idea of her physical evolution with her emotional one so that it makes sense when, for example, when she uses her powers like for the first time, it's like this, and where she chooses to use her powers for the first time. It's different than when they happen to her. Like that is a choice she has to make because it really forces her to face something she does not want to face, and she has to do it alone. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like when they say, I can lead you to the water, but I cannot make you drink it."
mm,
You can have your whole community, your whole family backing you up, leading you to the water, but they cannot force you to drink it if you do not want to. And so ultimately, you have to face your fear on your own, and that's the switch she has to make when she faces her power. So when she does that, I want it to be a moment that really resonates and that matters, and it's a powerful moment. So it's not just about the anger. It's about the sadness. It's about the grief. It's about the acceptance of self. Yeah.
She
okay.
definitely has some anger in her, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
righteous
Yeah,
anger,
she's
right?
angry. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't want it to be like a thing where it's like that's the main focus,
Oh, like
right?
the angry black girl trope,
Exactly.
black woman
Yeah,
trope. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
but she definitely, had. I was definitely in the preview.
I saw the punch,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
even before the punch, the words had
the
me a
slap,
bit
the
more
words.
like
Yeah.
I was a bit, fearful for old girl at that point.
yeah,
'Cause
yeah, yeah,
she
yeah.
was definitely mouthing off.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. All right. You know what? I want to go a bit more about Star Wielder. You mentioned how that has obviously the name has meaning and connection to the fire and all that stuff. This idea you mentioned on your Kickstarter, it goes back to 2017 when you first created like this character. What inspired you to revisit this character years later? Because I see it went from 2017 to a jump to 2023.
I know, right? That's a long
What
time.
happened between that time?
Not really. Time is sped
It's
up.
not that right. Time is a construct, right?
Well,
Time is
yeah, you're
relative.
right. You're
Yeah.
right.
But that said, what happened to make you go back and say, you know what, this is actually a viable idea? Or was it was just the right time? Like, tell me more about that.
Honestly, it came from the idea of me wanting to. I can't say what I want to say because then it will give things away, but I don't want to say that. But I would just say
Okay.
Hmm.
that I had this idea. I saw this character that I did back in 27. It was just, I was just at the time I said, let me just do this character. I was practicing my illustration skills and I tried to do more original art and I just did it. And then I saw it, how Facebook reminds you of old stuff and the
Yeah.
flashback posts and throwbacks. I'm like, huh. And I was looking for a story to tell. And I sat there with it and I said,
Mm.
is this it? And I don't know if this was a call or answer from the ancestors or whatnot, but it resonated. I said, let me take this. I feel like I can do something with this. And it took me a few iterations of Kiara to get to this point. As you saw on the Kickstarter, it took me a couple versions of her to get to where she is today. Because at one moment it was more very, although the story is sci-fi fantasy, with historical fiction, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was very much more sci-fi earlier on, and then I added more fantastical elements, and then I was like, okay, this is changing who she is. I'm like, it was an adventure. So it started off as that, and then when I added the story to it, and I went through shit, I went through things. I got wisdom, I got experience. I'm saying, I think I'm ready to tell something because I've been through something, and I want to tell somebody about it and help them get through what they're going through, like me too. And I think when I said I'm ready, although I am afraid, just like Kiara here, I had to, even now, this Kickstarter, this writing, exposing myself, this being vulnerable with my art and my creativity. I'm in some ways going through a very similar journey through her as her, facing my fear and trying to turn it into something, so I'm also leaning into what would she do in that kind of way too. So
I see.
yeah.
I see. Why turn to the Kickstarter? Why do you thought Kickstarter was the best platform to get your creative idea off the ground? Like what made you choose to do this?
Yeah, I thought, for one, it'd be in a time like this, it would be advantageous for me to just, for one, it was advantageous for me to get the word out, to
Mm-hmm.
help, spread for marketing purposes, to help me finish the book because 50 plus pages of story is a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And, helping getting funding to help finish that for people who believe in the project, who want to invest in me is a dream come true. And also Kickstarter is just, one of the more, if not the most popular crowdfunding platform out here. So I wanted to try my hand at that. Although there were other viable options. I know they had other requirements that some
Mm-hmm.
of them I weren't exactly filling, but I did want to just try my hand at Kickstarter to see, because I
Just
know
to see.
that's been the thing for people for
Yeah.
minutes. So
And I ask because there are creators in your position that are trying to figure out how do they get funding, how do they get their project finished. They know they need thousands. Is this like, so they would love to know what your experience has been. I mean, I'm looking at your Kickstarter right now. You have a 15K goal. You're at 3,100. You have 23 days to do it, right?
yep.
And you are, as you mentioned, you're doing this scared, right? Like you don't know what's going to happen, but you are driving forward. And I think that's really powerful, right? Like you may not know that this is going to go the way you want, but you're driving forward, right? And you're doing what you can to get the word out.
Let me tell you, when I hit that launch button, immediately I felt like I had a panic attack. Seriously, I was like, "Oh my god, I did it! What if this? What if that?" Like all the what ifs start popping out of my head, and I had to call one of my friends, Greg. I had to call him.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Greg, oh please help me! I figured out what if this happens? What if that happens?" I'm like, "Oh, dude." So that was the anxiety part, but I had to think about the worst case scenario, and that is I will fail. Being afraid of my failure and being afraid of feeling like I'm a failure. And so I have to really sit with that. I said, okay, Jay, you know what this is about. So let's get to the bottom of it. Let's get to the bottom of your worst fear in this moment and nip it in the bud and face it. And so let's say the Kickstarter does fail. Does that mean you or the story are a failure? No. It means a variety of different things that may occur that you may need to fix, you may need to revisit because people still believe in you in the story. So sit with that and know that even if this does not succeed, you will still succeed. And I had to sit with it. I said, okay, you're right, Jay. Damn, you ate that a little bit. So I'm like,
Yeah.
What's up, y'all? I need you to hit those like and the subscribe buttons that you see right below you as you're watching right now. I mean, right now. Hit them. And we can get right back to the video you were just watching. Like this.
You have 67 backers. And I don't know, people, because of social media and the way numbers are distorted, literally, you walk into a room right now and 67 people say, here's some money. That's a significant amount of people.
Exactly.
Similar to like, if you walk in the room and 50 people say, you look good. That's a lot of people saying you look good, right? When people get the 50 hearts, they think they didn't do nothing. I'm just like, you kind of have to look at it differently. And this is not trying to be a, half glass full person. This is facts. And I think that gets lost, especially in this digital age where numbers don't feel tangible anymore. Like,
absolutely.
you do have a lot of people interested in this project, including us, because we're talking about it right now.
Yeah. And thank you for that. I appreciate that. And yes, as you said, like this can be dehumanizing in some ways because you are essentially we're doing this in a capitalist society, recognizing that first of all, super important that we don't, this is not ideal for any of us. Ideally, we would have the ability to fund or do what we want to do in an ideal world. But since we're
Right.
here, how do we navigate this in the best way scenario? So for me, I try to approach this with a lot of grace by coming from a place of understanding that knowing that people are going through a lot. And so when I even ask for support, like I don't just straight up, I try not to straight up ask. I just say, hey, is there something that I can do for you? Is there, you know,
Mm.
things like reciprocating that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's important for me as well.
Mm. And something that I really like reading about the story and everything on the Kickstarter is it, and I see you, over here rocking the Superman shirt, of course, as well.
Yeah.
So you talked about how, in your life you've done and you've even mentioned it on the show already that you've been through a lot, you've had a lot of grief, a lot of depression. You talked about your own battles with OCD and other things of that nature. And you really want this book to inspire hope in people. And I really love that because we've been talking about that a lot on the show lately.
Yeah.
When Superman and Fantastic Four came out, we spoke about how a lot of sci-fi and fantasy
I
are.
haven't seen it yet. Don't spoil it.
We
Oh
won't.
no, no, just
Yeah.
in
We'll just say
general.
it inspires a lot of hope.
Yeah, in
Okay.
general, the
Okay.
thing is
Good.
that in general, a lot of media right now isn't very hopeful, especially in science
Absolutely.
fiction. It doesn't really. There's not a
Yeah.
lot of forward-thinking, hopeful things, and so I like to see this book, which you say inspires hope. So, what's something that you would like people to take from it?
My hope is that with this book, that readers can have a chance to, I think, again, be inspired by their own ability to face their own fear, to be inspired by their own strength and their own power to just go out and like inspire change and be a force for good in the world. Like we
Mm,
all, I think, or many of us have that ability. I think so many of us doubt ourselves, whether because we are afraid, whether because we're waiting for someone else to do it.
mm-hmm,
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm going to ask you one question.
mm,
Why not you?
mm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get shot. No.
A lot of it is sometimes self-preservation, right?
Yeah,
And then some
of
of it's
course.
just straight up fear
Yeah.
and having a hard time overcoming that fear.
Yeah, and I do think that's important. And I think what to acknowledge also like individualism and this idea of like and it's hard because we do want to protect ourselves, but
Hmm.
what they rely on is this whole individualism aspect of like just me. I look out for me and that's it. Because community is what's going to get us out of this. But we got to
Hmm.
learn how to face that together.
And that's the thing though, and that's something that I've been really working at is building more community because it feels like in like Tatiana was saying in this digital age, it's really difficult to find community that really matters is what I would say.
Yeah, it's
And
the
like
Yeah.
quality. Yeah.
yeah, and like like-minded individuals because we spend a lot of time online just arguing. And it's designed for
Mm.
that.
Oh my God.
It's straight up designed to build confusion and
Yeah.
division amongst people. And so it's more and more difficult to find community. And so I really like that. And one other thing I really, really, really loved about this book, or just, what you're putting into it so far, is the history that we're seeing in Detroit. And I saw like it felt like to mention some EFA missions, some Yoruba, some all kind of things in there. But also I wanted you to know about the wall that you mentioned before and what was the
Yeah.
story behind that.
Yeah, so the Birdwood Wall is like a red line wall that was introduced in Detroit in the early 1900s. And so it was a another similar to what happened in the South. It was just another opportunity by which white folks came in and said, "Hey, we want to make sure that we protect our communities, our spaces.
Mm,
We are finding that Black people are coming on our side of town, and so let's put
Mm.
up this wall to help divide and, increase property value and
Like a
whatnot."
literal wall.
A literal wall, and
damn.
that's the history of it. And but the beauty of the wall today, and this is what is again going back to the theme of the story, turning fear into power, it is now a canvas for all these beautiful murals
I knew it.
from the people in the community who have turned into something repurposed. Yeah, see,
I mean, that's what we do as
You
a
didn't have to
people.
finish, bro. As soon as you're like, the beauty of this wall is like, Negroes
You knew it.
done grabbed that joint up
We're gonna add art, 'cause that's what we are as a
and
people.
burners on that hoe.
Yeah,
exactly, and
that's who we are as a people.
and that's what part of the story is about too. That's why I wanted to highlight the Detroit uprising and like the Birdwood Wall, and we'll see that other aspects of that will be highlighted in the story as well. So
I think that's great history. I mean, obviously, this is history that continuously gets buried, American history that gets buried anyway. So, I had no idea there was such a wall. Like, I know these walls exist. We see them all over the world, really.
Yeah.
But I've always known about the world stuff before I knew about what's happening right here, or what has happened right here in this country. I had no idea there was essentially an apartheid wall right there in Detroit.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I had no idea.
No idea. And it's still there to this day. I mean, granted, it may not serve the same purpose, or maybe, in hell, figuratively, maybe it do, right? Maybe it's still some remnants of that. It's a literal symbol of redlining, right? So
exactly,
I think that's because, again, a lot of these terms and concepts are so vague, right, and amorphous to people when you talk about redlining and gerrymandering and all this other stuff. Like, people don't know what that means, but then when you show them, like, yo, there was the actual wall that they built to keep Black folks out.
Exactly,
that hits different.
Yeah, and even people that read the preview was like, "Oh man, I didn't know about the Birdwood Wall." Like, I think that's how we need more stuff like that.
I mean, you're doing the work that a lot of really great shows recently, like Watchmen and all these other things, have done to try to pull into the forefront history that has actually occurred, right? And yes, it may be steeped in the fictional story, but it's real things that have happened. Like Tulsa really happened, right? There's all these different things that really truly happen and are, as mentioned, they're hidden, or they're just undertaught, or whatever the case may be.
They're being actively erased today.
Actively erased.
Literally. That's the thing. It's literally an intentional movement against us in our stories, in our history, to erase it. The whole book banning, the book burnings, and there has to be an intentional effort to combat that, I think, and I want to be a part of that, with this story.
I just want to kind of riding along the same lines of Ben mentioning community and all this stuff. You have Hero Nation, which tell me more about what Hero Nation is. Like, is this your publishing arm? Is this just your community where you're trying to bring in others? Is this just your house? Like, what is Hero Nation?
So Hero Nation is my creative studio. So
okay,
I do that with I do my illustration work, my brand designing, and my brand strategy work. But ideally, in the future, I want to make this a space where creatives can come, and I want to make it a whole thing. I wanted to make this a legit studio space, a legit studio where I can have other creative studio or creatives and come and join the movement of telling of the mission of really centering stories around Black folk that are fictional, that are inspire, this positive change. Because my voice can only get so far. I'm not, I'm not
you're only one person.
Monopoly on my my content. So
whoa.
I'm trying. I'm trying to just, preferably, there will come a point where I have to say, okay, I got to get someone else's voice in here, and things like that. But that's the goal for me in the future.
Yeah, and I'm on your site. I was looking through your portfolio. I mean, you have this really amazing, really beautiful art. It's very expressive. Lots of color. The ones that are very colorful. Lots of color work. And my favorite is probably this Storm one that says Black Power on it. I love that one. It has her black suit. That's fire. Even Joel, our social media manager, he has one of your Nubia prints at home on his wall.
It's probably the champion Nubia. I probably know which one it is. The gold one with her, the sword, probably. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly, that one. So, I mean, I'm sharing that to also let you know, it's true that your art and your work is reaching. Joel's always, all the way on the other side of the country. You know what I'm saying? And there's people in between. And we mentioned the 67 people already supporting you. You are already on the path to reaching, those going beyond your borders, right? And going closer to where you want to be, which is having this space where more creatives can grow.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've also, some of your work, you said it's appeared in Netflix and other places. Where else have you worked?
Yeah.
So how was those experiences?
Well, a while ago, this was I keep saying a long, long time ago. I 2017 wasn't that long ago, but I was in an ad campaign for Netflix back in like 2017. It was called The First Time That I Saw Me. And they asked me this question, like, when was the first time you saw yourself represented?
Mm,
I froze. 'Cause I had such a hard time answering that question. Because the
mm,
reason why is I never saw all of me in just a character, or just, it was just pieces of me I saw
mm,
in different characters. And like, for example, I saw a piece of me in Virgil. I saw a piece of me in Superman. I saw a piece of me in Xena. Like, this queer kid, who didn't have a lot of queer representation. Like Xena was like, I was like, why am I liking her like this?
Xena was that girl.
Cool, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she will always be that girl. But no, I did that, and then sometime after that, I did some work for Luke Cage. It was that was great. And I think after that, I do murals. I do outside of commissions, like the comic book stuff. I've done murals. I've done exhibition spaces. I designed a museum exhibition. So I just got done literally designing, like not too long ago, a museum space for a Black Bottom exhibition, which Black Bottom, for not people who are not familiar with, was a prominent community here that was decimated. It was here in Detroit, that was decimated in the 1950s and 60s, but it was very one, like a lot of in here in the United States, a lot of Black communities around that time where it was flourishing.
Mm.
They were struggling, but they did the best that they could with what they had, and they were flourishing, with that. But that community was eventually destroyed for urban renewal,
Mm.
and so as that was uprooted, that was what the story was there. But I designed an exhibition for that. So I do all kinds of things in the creative space, but I try to keep it in the vein of, as in my mission of, spreading awareness and social activism and nerdom and stuff like that.
mm.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really good. I just hope you know that, you're helping to also inspire other people who want to be creatives. And, before we move on to the next part of this interview, were there any advice you want to give to budding creatives that want to at least get to your step? Like for some people looking at you like, oh, he made it to the Kickstarter phase. What, I'll never get there. Like, what
Oh,
advice do you have?
I hope they don't say that, please, friend.
People do.
People do.
Ah,
People
give
say
your
everything.
give yourself grace.
Mm,
Give yourself grace. And I think another thing I want to say is know your why. Because in the times when you do doubt yourself like that, you
Mm,
are down and you're questioning and you're doing your Kickstarter, you're questioning if people are going to support you, and you have a story in mind, you have to know why you're telling that story. Why do you believe in yourself? Why you? Know your why, and that will get you through those times. Because when I'm crying, I'm like questioning, "Oh, am I on the right path?" And then I remember why I'm doing this. I get the hell up and I say, okay, I know
mm.
why. Let me remind myself, for one, of who I am and why I'm doing this. And so that's so important. So that would be one of the biggest pieces of advice I would tell you, is to know your why, friend, and that will help you. And having that guide and that true north will help you get through your journey.
mm. Right.
Very well said.
Yeah, that's a bar. And a lot of the things you said today are really, some good advice for people and just true knowledge too. I wanted to what you just said is something I always tell people in regards to anything creative, but I've always said that with DJing, especially, like, if you don't love it, don't do it, because
Mm,
eventually it looks cute on
yeah.
the outside, but eventually you're gonna run into a lot of stuff that makes it where you better love this stuff.
It ain't always peachy.
No, it
Mm-mm.
definitely ain't. And then the other one you were talking about is how you felt like you weren't seen fully. And even myself, I always felt that, because people would be like, "Oh, you're black. Storm must be, you must love Storm." And I'm like, "Nah, actually, I grew up having a crush on Rogue, and my favorite, who I thought I saw myself in, was Scott Summers." So, and it was this white dude who just happened to be more like who I was
It was more
Mm,
than
personality. Yeah.
yeah, than any other character. So I
Hmm.
never really found it. Wasn't
mm.
until recently, like with people like Prodigy and stuff like that, where I was like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, there's the
Mm.
X-Men who I felt like,
That makes
that's
sense.
who I was at that age. It's like this,
Yeah.
yeah.
But exactly what you said. Look, it's now that this is happening,
Now,
right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I'm a grown ass man, dog, and I had to look back and like, well, thanks, Prodigy. If you've been around back then, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. It's happening now. And it's also because you have creators like Jay who are putting this forward
hmm
now.
No, and
You
that's
made
what
a
I was gonna
perfect.
say. Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ben.
No, that's exactly what I want to say. It's good that
Yeah.
you're putting this stuff out and that you're putting yourself into all the stuff you do, so that for people who are young and don't see themselves, they will start to see themselves because of people like you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So great work there. And I do want people to make sure that they check out your Kickstarter for sure. So we'll talk about that again. But before we get there, we do have a section of our interviews called the BRAP segment, where we do some rapid fire question and answers. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Okay. Magneto or Professor X?
Magneto.
Oh, you said that with an attitude. What?
I don't know. I mean, they're both like. I think they both have, obviously their issues, but I'm learning more about Professor X.
Yeah.
I'm like,
questionable.
You know, the worse it gets.
Like
he's a questionable man.
I grew up like, oh, he's gotta go. He's taking the kids in, and I'm like, I learned some stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, well, So yeah, and then I'm like, and I understand. I like just the, although he's technically in some places an anti-hero or a villain or whatever, but Magneto, I like that. I'm creating a character that sort of resonates with me and that character in him. So like him.
That's the one. Yeah, I mean, look, my shirt says it on Magneto.
Oh, look at that. Right. Okay, look at
that. So
there you go. All right, let's see, Superman or Batman?
Yeah.
I mean,
Superman shirt.
That shirt on, right? Yeah.
You don't like rich people that beat up poor people? What?
What is that?
You don't like talk about Batman? You don't like rich people that beat up poor people? What?
That's hilarious.
What's not to love?
That doesn't happen now.
Listen, this is Ben. This is actually that comment is actually from Ben. It has historically, I learned that from Ben about Bruce Wayne just being a rich person that beats on poor people.
Bruce Wayne is really Lex Luthor. He just likes Superman. Like that's the only difference between the two of them.
He likes getting his hands dirty. Lex doesn't like the,
Yeah, that too. Yeah, and he loves leather. You know what I mean? But man's try to,
Do you? This is a side question. Do you like horror? The horror genre? Horror films? Horror?
Yeah, I don't mind horror. Yeah.
You don't mind it. Okay. Mike Myers, Freddy, or Jason?
Man, God, I think Freddy because I say because his story is more terrifying to me than the powers, like nightmares. My God, like coming to life, like that was scary growing up. I'm like, turn this shit off. Like,
no, I totally get it.
I feel like Freddy has like a huge lead in this one. Yeah,
he's the scariest one to me. I mean, other
easily.
people have won this one, but I'm just like, just for sheer reach alone, it has to be Freddy.
And Freddy is not just the fear; it's the hilarity. Like if he doesn't win on fear, he definitely wins to me just for being hilarious,
just being funny. Is it be funny to you?
Yo, go back and watch them joints. I mean, like, no, he is a comedian. Well, England, that dude could have done stand up. The guy playing Freddy, because he is hilarious.
I had no idea.
Oh my God, yeah, go back and watch. He makes jokes on all the kills, especially like after. I think it starts in 2. The very first one, he's terrifying, and then 2, he makes a hilarious joke that, oh my God, I can quote to this day. And then from 3, 4, 5 on, it's just jokes there. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Nice.
Okay. Who was your first geek crush?
Oh my God! What? Oh God, I don't know.
Gotta tell us.
I don't know. Like, do I have a geek crush?
Was there like a first character where you saw you were like, ooh, they're kind of cute. I might talk to them.
I don't think so.
No, or were you just like, these are all? I'm not really messing with these people.
I'm like, they're okay.
That's fair.
I guess.
Okay. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, well, then the opposite. What character's death hurt you the most?
I had to sit with that. I have to. I have to probably sit with that. I don't have an answer for that right now, but
damn, this man.
I'll have to sit with. I would. Yeah, I have to sit with that. What'd you say?
I'm like, you don't love them hoes. Like
you don't love them hoes.
No. I don't mean.
He's like, I don't care if you live. I don't care if you die.
I
don't care.
No, we're just messing with you. What's your favorite superhero movie of all time?
It's hard because there are some they're on the same level in some ways for different reasons. And I want to say that the movie that really moved me the most, I have to say this, is Superman the movie, because it's the one that kickstarted my love and passion for superheroes. And I even it was it. The Superman the movie. I remember having the VHS that had the styrofoam or the plastic thing that opened up. And the
Oh, you mean like the case,
the
like
case,
the click case, yep.
And here's the last one. If you can have any one superpower, what would it be?
Oh God, damn it! We don't have one. Maybe
One.
super straight. Super straight. I'll figure it out because you can get creative with that. You can get creative.
Super strength. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, you have survived the BRAP segment, which also means you have survived the For All Nerds interview. Thank you so much again, Mr. J Hero. Please let everyone know where they can find you, where they can find your work, and also, again, just if you can plug your Kickstarter and what they need to do to help you.
Yes, thank you so much. So
Mhm.
you can find me on all social media handles, including Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and TikTok, all at IMJAYHERO. I'm J Hero. Also, you can follow my website at heronationstudio.com. And you want to check out my Kickstarter, there's information on my website, but also if you want to go on Kickstarter, it's there too. And also, it's under all my bios on all my websites or all my social media platforms. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And again, Star Wielder issue number 1, your 50-page debut comic. So
Yes.
if they probably if they just Google Star Wielder and your name, they'll
Absolutely. Actually, I'm like it will pop up on Google. I'll make sure my SEO was set as well. Um,
okay. Okay.
so also I want to plug in and say I am
Yes,
also
please.
accepting commissions. And so if you want to
Oh,
contact me for work, I
yes.
am available for work as well at hello@imjhero.com. That is my email. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll hook you up.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And guys, we'll be back with more For All Nerds.
What's up, y'all? Thank you for watching that video that you just watched. Do one thing for me. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Do it because you love us. Do it for the cause. It's the For All Nerds Show.
For All Nerds Show is a member of the Loudspeakers Network, where we always say rest in peace to our founder, Combat Jack.
For All Nerd Show is powered by our listeners. Everything we do, from our podcasts, live events, our website, are all independently funded. Please continue to support us through our Patreon page at patreon.com/forallnerds.